Let's see what spam we can attract today. Yes, it is time for another walking, talking AMA. Ask me anything, that's what they say it stands for. I don't know. I don't know for sure. It could be a code. Never been up on my steganography, or my cryptography, or indeed my stegosauruses, or my crypts, or my crypts. Am I more a blood or a crip? That's a good question. That's the first question we've been asked here on my AMA. You know what? I'm open to offers from either. When it comes to the Bloods and the Crips, my knowledge extends as far as the Warriors, and I don't think that's an accurate reflection of the Crips. I think it's the Grey Mercy Crips in the Warriors. Can you dig it? Is the line that sticks with me. And of course, David Patrick Kelly's Warriors come out to play. He wasn't in the Grey Mercy Crips though. David Patrick Kelly's character was, I think his gang was called the Rogues. I think they were the Rogues, if they even had a name. It was us. It was the Warriors who did it. It was them. Waiting for various people to cross the road. David Patrick Kelly, who does an awful lot of theatre work in New York, I understand. He was, of course, excellent in Twin Peaks as Jerry Horn of the Ben and Jerry duo, Ben Horn and Jerry Horn. I assume they were named after the ice cream, but I don't know. That's my Ask Me Anything for you. Do you know if Ben Horn and Jerry Horn in Twin Peaks were named after the popular ice cream brand? I don't even know when Ben and Jerry's came into existence, honestly. I feel like it came to the UK in the mid to late 90s. May have been around in America for a lot longer. And Twin Peaks, of course, was originally written in like 1989, or that's when it came out. So, yeah, answers on a postcard, please. Ben and Jerry Horn, are they named after the ice cream? Hello, Link the Vampire. How's it going? It's going well. Thank you very much for asking. I've been doing some Monster Kingdoms-y work today. Yes, very much looking forward to Monster Kingdoms. A game where you can play evil, monstrous, conquering bastards without anyone there to slap you on the wrist and tell you you're doing a bad thing. This is a game where evil, the only consequences come through the narrative. There's no mechanic that's going to punish you for burning down a village, for slaying innocents, for stealing gold from the temple, even for taking slaves, or indeed any horrendous act you wish to perpetrate. If that's what you want to do in Monster Kingdoms, you go ahead. There isn't some overpower that is going to prevent you from doing what it is you want to do. Now, that's not to say there aren't certain tyrannies in place. The dreadnoughts that exist in Monster Kingdoms are going to be very hot on maintaining their idea of what law is, what order is. But maybe you are one of them. Maybe you're using the law as a weapon. That's an interesting idea. As if anyone's ever done that before. And this last weekend, of course, that we just had was Gen Con weekend. And if you're watching this live, as always, please leave a thumbs up. Give us a like. It will make this video pop up in more subscriber feeds on people's phones and so on. Yes, it was Gen Con weekend. Was I there? Was I in deepest, darkest Indianapolis, sweating my balls off on the streets of Indiana, moving from convention center to convention center, trying to catch panels and games? No, I was not. I don't think I've actually been back No, I haven't been back to America now since COVID, since lockdown. So 2020 was the last time I was in the USA. And so that's been a while. And the networking suffers a little when you aren't face to face with all your colleagues. But at the same time, I would rather my networking suffers for a while and avoid the possibility of being detained or, you know, there's also bad stories that come out of America these days. I'm sure most of them are true. The Pill says, so will the Milk Girls be making it into Curseborne? We have to know. The Pill, if you check this Monday's Curseborne video on my channel, you will find an answer to that very thing. Yes, indeed. Milk in Curseborne. The listener wants to know, Matthew, your opinion on the NWO. Will you be joining us soon? I thought the NWO, frankly, became somewhat overstuffed around the time Vincent, that is the wrestler formerly known as Virgil, joined. At that point, the NWO lost some of its luster. That's not to say I'm not a fan of the whole Wolfpack division. I think that was good, but I think the NWO had a good 6 months, and after that the gimmick kind of ran itself out of steam. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of momentum to it, kept the WCW, sounding like Bret Hart now, just WCW, on TVs for a long time, but it's very difficult to sustain interest. I know you're asking about Mage the Ascension's NWO. I'm not entertaining it. New World Order. Link the Vampire says, how much of the milk conspiracy will we get to see in Curseborne now? Well, as I said, if you check out the video that went up this Monday, Heartache, Heartbreak, this is on my channel, you will see more of the milk conspiracy entering Curseborne. That's right. Yeah, we will be having a lot of fun with with the milk. And Awkward GM Corbin. Hi, Corbin. Doing research into digital horror entities. Do you have any that come to mind from horror movies you've seen? Good question. Digital horror entities. Does the Lawnmower Man count? Not the novel version. So Lawnmower Man is the first one that springs to mind. There's a... well... I remember there was this awful TV show. There's never a good recommendation. Yeah, well, just to, before I just go off on that, heads up, go look for The Ring. Is it a digital horror entity if it's a ghost that is using digital or analog horror in the case of The Ring? After all, it's videotape, a VHS. If it is just using it as a conduit, or does the horror entity need to have been born in, let's call it cyberspace, the digital ether, to be a digital horror? That is a good question. I'm glad you asked. So, Sadako, is she a digital horror? Or is she a curse, a ghost, a kind of spectre that is transmitting her curse via a digital medium? Answers on a postcard. So there was this wonderful, awful TV show, I think it was on Channel 4 in the UK, and the only actor I remember from it was Jason Orange, who was one of the group members of Take That, very popular boy band in the UK in the 90s. And this was in the infancy of chat rooms, and this was like a dating chat room where you would have a virtual avatar, and slowly but surely the different people who were participating in this chat room were being killed off. And I was probably about 10 years old when I saw this, 10 or 11 years old. But I remember being really scared by it, really scared by what could happen on the internet. And I then found out, not long after, that the video game Ripper, which is an FMV game, so I imagine it'll appear on this channel at some point, starring David Patrick Kelly, in fact, who we've already spoken about in this video. Fantastic. Circular Logic. There's a bit of Ringu for you. Christopher Walken, Burgess Meredith, lots of big actors in Ripper. Is a horror game set in a Jack the Ripper style, I guess, industrial futuristic virtual nightmare game. Existence as well is almost an extension of that, by David Cronenberg. Again, horror in a digital medium, the idea of putting on the VR helmet and all of a sudden you've got this Total Recall issue of, well, if I'm not me, then who the hell am I? So, yeah, there's quite a lot. Of course, I would say the preeminent, the number one piece of digital horror that I would recommend, aside from various X-Files episodes that try to do it as well, including, I think I just said Conduit. No, it wasn't Conduit. There was an episode in the early, maybe season 1, which I think was called Ghost in the Machine, where various machines in a lab kept killing people. I remember an elevator crashing with everybody on board, which is a fear a lot of people share. I think people are now more terrified of escalators than elevators, because there's so many videos that go around online of people getting sucked into the gears of escalators, if you know where to look, that I think people are terrified of the top step falling away. So that's a very rambly answer, but yes, the number one, number one, King of New York, would be Doki Doki Literature Club, which is a video game and is absolutely the pinnacle of a digital horror experience that breaks the fourth wall. And I'm not spoiling it by saying it's a horror game, but that is all I will say about Doki Doki Literature Club if you have not played it, because you will quickly pick up on the fact that something ain't right with that game. But you have to play it to find out why. So let's see, what else have we got? God, lots of messages now. Link the Vampire says, have you changed your favourite Dead and Hungry families with the recent revision? Well, I revised most of them. I think I did the revision work. Obviously, it's always a team effort. Don't get me wrong. I can't take all the credit or the blame. But when we were dividing up the book for who handled what parts of the feedback, I had the lineages and families, among other bits and pieces. And so, you know, my favourites for the Dead still remain the Shades. I've always been a big fan of characters driven by a sense of poetic justice or irony, and I think the Shades sum that up very nicely, that you don't have to play them as sorrowful or guilt-ridden, but they are very good for preying on people who have secrets, and characters with secrets make good SGCs or NPCs in a game. As for the Hungry, I would suggest, has my favourite changed? That would depend entirely on if I could remember who my favourites were. I'm not sure. The Black Hearts are up there for me because, in a way, they play best with others, other families from other lineages, because they feed on emotion, and there's so many other accursed who amplify emotion, not just the dead. So, yeah, I'm a fan of the Black Hearts from a utility perspective. But from a mood perspective, I very much enjoy the Gaki. I love the idea of being able to summon a phantasm, having it around with you. You don't have to feed from it immediately. And now that the material has changed slightly, you have to do it in a place where someone is known to have died, typically badly, otherwise they won't have created a phantasm. I like having that almost innate necromancy to the Gaki that in other games that I've worked on, you have to sort of pull teeth to get a ghost to appear. Whereas with the Gaki, just so long as you're standing in a cemetery or in a morgue or at the site of a crash, the likelihood is you're going to be able to get your ability off without needing to roll a damn thing. Let's see, what else have we got here? Lots of milk. Lawnmower Man, I wouldn't suggest the movies, either of them are terribly good as digital horror Corbin, but there's a kernel of a decent idea there. I mean, in a way you could put RoboCop as digital horror, or more accurately, the failed RoboCops from RoboCop 2, the ones who blow their own heads up and so on because of the horror of being a cyborg. Hell, I think I'd even go for, God, I'm trying to remember RoboCop 2 now. What's the villain's name? Kane. There you go. He gets about a bit, doesn't he? And his being addicted to, was the drink called Nuke? The drug was called Nuke. It was a designer party drug. And his robot goes mad when he can't get it. I don't know if that's the digital horror you're looking for, but I think there's good stuff to be tapped from the RoboCop movies, the first two of them. Anyway. So, what else do we have? Awkward Corbin says, I highly recommend you watch Digimon Series 3, Matthew. And your video, it was written by a cosmic horror writer. Oh yes, well, for anyone who missed it, sorry about the wind, can't help that. I can't control the weather yet, no matter how much I try. Oh, and if you're watching this live, as I know we are in double digits, please leave a thumbs up. It will make the video appear in more people's feeds. And that means we get more chat, which is always worthwhile. That's why we're here, to ask and answer questions. The questions for which answers are demanded. Thank you very much. That's it. Start sticking your thumb up. I won't tell you where. I'll leave that to your imagination. There we go. The thumbs up have hit double digits as well. Great. Thank you very much. So yeah, if you missed it, last week I put out a Digimon in the World of Darkness video. One of my subscribers and Patreons by the name of Twilord, that's his handle, asked for me to, well, speak about a lot of subjects regarding Digimon. It isn't a subject with which I'm terribly well versed at all, but I'm doing some work with Twilord on their fan game of Digimon, and that's quite a lot of fun. And yes, they asked me to make a video about how I would put familiars in the World of Darkness as a playable splat and what I could do with them. And someone pointed out, because I just said something like fairies as the familiars for Changeling, you know, like little Tinkerbells, trying to come up with something new, and completely forgot that Chimera or Chimera, I love to throw out both pronunciations. Some people say Chimera. They actually exist in Changeling Dreaming 20th Anniversary Edition as familiar types, and I think I even wrote them for the core book. It's one of those odd things as a writer, when you've written quite a lot, and I think I've got well over 100 credits now, which is lovely, you kind of forget some of what you've written. And they probably would have done a better job of the familiars. Corbin says, when you work on Curseborne, are the writers siloed from each other, or do you have group calls to discuss things, or private messaging groups? So far, every Curseborne project of which I've been a part has had groups of writers encouraged to discuss. with each other. Now, that wasn't the case when we first started with Curseborne. Some of this will no doubt be covered in the making of book. We were very keen to get lots of different ideas, and we didn't want people coming up with ideas in concert. We wanted lots of fresh ideas, which is why there's quite a large author list for Curseborne. Not every idea made it to the final version of the game, because when we had all the parts, we could see there's a fantastic idea here. There's lots of fantastic ideas here. They don't all work with each other. And that was intentional. We wanted to get lots and lots of fantastic ideas, refine it, get to the point where there was a playable game with an interesting hook, interesting playable options, and so on. So every game since we've formalized the core has had teams, and I believe every one of them has had team meetings. You know, we have calls, we share ideas. Certainly my development of the Accursed Adventures book, that may not be the final title, has had more than one meeting with the writers, because I want the adventures to have links to each other. Only subtle ones in case you want to play them independently. And I also find it's very useful for writers to share ideas. I don't like writers feeling like they can't communicate with each other, or indeed, especially not with me. I want, if writers are struggling to come up with something, they should reach out to their developer. But I get anxiety being what it is, and so many writers suffering from it. Sometimes writers think that, well, if I reach out to the developer to ask for help, that means I've failed. Well, a way to get around that is fostering a healthy team environment so that writers can speak to each other. Not so writers have to step in and do the developer's work, but because often if ideas are bounced around, you end up coming up with some pretty good stuff. I'm more interested in lots of ideas that I may ultimately have to discard than people shooting each other's ideas down, which I haven't seen happen on any Curseborne books, that writers don't tend to tread on each other's plans. The Pill says, do I put milk in my coffee? That would require me to drink coffee, something I never do. I do not have a taste for coffee. Hello, Britt. Mark Wolf, thank you very much. Happy day to you. It's Nor says he's selling drugs and has a gun. Call the police. He's a monster. He's not to be trusted. He's an international criminal wanted in 55 countries. Okay, It's Nor, we're going to put you on a timeout, I think. All right, there we go. Always nice when we get those people who suddenly show up. It's lovely to have the bump in the subscriber count. Don't get me wrong. Well, it would be if I checked my subscriber numbers. I can only hope that the bot or idiot who is responsible for that occasionally misclicks on an ad and I get a few pennies for their wasting their time. Sharky says, if you will indulge me a little, can we expect to see outcasts who were themselves banished from the outside rather than being the descendant of one, either in the revised manuscript or higher tiers? Yeah, I think in the revised manuscripts you will see that. The family themes of Curseborne are such that the idea that you are playing descendants and cursed by your ancestry is fairly hard-coded, but that said, I know that there's a lot of people who would rather be almost independent or black sheep from their families, and so in the Outcasts chapter, I am pretty sure that we have characters who have vague memories of the outside, and that would imply that they were the ones who were banished, and it may just be that they've only just realized that they are not human. So, yeah, quite possible. I'm pretty sure I put that in just the same as I put in that, you know, with some dead, your curse may start with you rather than a biological ancestor. Mr. says, what kind of cursed one would Pennywise be? If Pennywise was one of the accursed, I would say one of the primal, an 8 hands, if you go with a spider thing. An outcast is the obvious choice, but I think the greater likelihood is Pennywise is a fey creature, one of the last, managed to cling on, a creature of pure nightmare with his deadlights. Or her deadlights, I should say, because Pennywise does, after all, lay eggs. Head, Sock, Goatlock 4, Chimera, Iron Mage, the Ascension also. Simply any magical life form. Corbin says, where can I get this behind-the-scenes book? I don't remember seeing it in the Curseborne Kickstarter. It was in the Curseborne Kickstarter. Pretty sure that the making of it was a stretch goal. Hi, Ash. Thank you very much for the happy wishes. And hiya, Aya. Thank you for loving the Masquerade Clown videos. Ash says, how's the RPG game you're playing going currently? Well, it's a wrestling game. We're playing Worldwide Wrestling right now. And it is going well. Our players, our participants, our performers at the Washington and National Wrestling and National Kickboxing Association. That's it. Wrestling and National Kickboxing Association, based in Washington, 1983, I think we've gone for. So it's territory based, and yeah, it's a lot of fun playing with that sort of 80s ham, while the rise of the WWF is looking ever more dangerous. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Thank you. I do drink tea, Brit. Yes. Corbin says, as a fellow YouTuber, subscriber count seems to have died as a metric. The recommendation home feed is more used by people. You're probably right. I've never been a big subscriber tracker. I find it's unhealthy. I think watching things like likes, watching subscriptions, shares, it leads to people developing fixations on numbers they have very little control over. In the end, I think you should just make what you like and have fun with it rather than worrying what other people think. So, hi Super Vlad, and bye Super Vlad. R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. Fuck Hulk Hogan. My sympathies to his family, and that's about as far as my condolences go. RVCM, specific question about the Hungry. Are any traditional vampire weaknesses or attributes included? Something like vampires becoming physically younger when they feed. You can gain your boost to social. So you gain a social advantage if you take a Bane. So yeah, you could absolutely wrap that up into feeding. So far we don't have it that you suddenly look younger when you feed, but at the same time we don't have vampires looking old and decrepit, so I don't know if it's necessary. But that's definitely something we could explore. If we ever do a book specifically on the Hungry lineage, and God, the Ultimate Warrior, even worse than Hulk Hogan, if I had to choose, if this was a trolley problem, well, I mean, they're both dead now, so really it's just a trolley rolling over two dead bodies. But anyway, yeah, I think I would love to do a lineage book for the Hungry and get into the effects of feeding. Right now, the bloodthirst and the damned hunger, which are the two aspects of it, are more in place to stave off your torments and of course, the manifestation of your damnation. So I think it's less about aging and more about curses. The Hungry aren't archetypal vampires. They have vampiric aspects to them. But having the drinking of blood tied specifically into looking beautiful, I think what you would be doing there is making your undead strength, the advantage of putting in social, tie into looking amazing because you've just drank a mouthful of blood or bathed yourself in blood because you're a Batherite, that kind of thing. Anyway, I am going to say goodbye here because I have a game to get to. I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their week. Do check out Monster Kingdoms. It's coming to crowdfunding very, very soon, and I've been working on it, and it's a lot of fun. Do leave us your likes, and do big up the world below. Thank you very much for watching, all.